Yay! Hello, everybody. Welcome from near and far here in the USA and around the world. Welcome to the Ham Radio Outlet Shack Chat. I'm your host, Katie WY7YL. Welcome to my shack here in Sundance, Wyoming. And since we're talking QRP and other fun things today, I'm also in Delta November 74, in case you wondered. Well, we've made it through another week. Thanks so much for joining in here. It is Friday, July 24th. I'm not really sure how that's happened already, but here we are. Oh, there's our first one. Hi, Ricardo. And there's Spike over on YouTube. Hi, guys. And let's see. Oh, and there's Jason from Ham Radio 2.0. Hi, Jason. He said he just did his, he pointed everybody over here. Thank you so much for sharing. Sharing is caring. And Josh is going to be with me here in just a moment. So Ham Radio Crash Course, really excited. I always have fun being able to have Josh on the show and talk with him. We're getting to do a lot more things together, and it's a lot of fun. And I always learn something new from Josh. And I know I've said this before about Josh, and he's probably going to be doing one of these behind the scenes, but Josh is one of those scary, smart people, but he can talk to you about things, all these different things about ham radio that makes it like you're just having a regular conversation. And I think that's one of the reasons that Ham Radio Crash Course on YouTube is so popular. I mean, I had him on just about the time he hit 100,000 subscribers on his page. And that is already well past 100,000. And it's just so exciting to see what happens when people take their energy and creativity and their love for the hobby of ham radio and share it with people. So let's see. We've got, let me remind you for a couple of quick things. I'm going to check my notes because I get too excited and then I don't want to forget anything. So Josh is laughing at me.
I do the same thing.
Yeah, it's hard not to. So, okay. So last week, you guys know, I, back there on the desk, which is actually fairly clean. Ooh, sorry about the light. Fairly clean. I was hiding the Discovery, the Lab599 TX-500. And, a lot of you guys who are QRP fanatics noticed it right off the bat before I even really pointed it out. So I talked about it a little bit on the show at the end of the chat last week. And then I think it was Tuesday, both us here at Ham Radio Outlet and Josh at Ham Radio Crash Course both released some teaser videos on this new QRP radio. So I thought, well, you know what? Let's keep talking about it because there's a lot of fun stuff. And assuming that the mail arrives on time tomorrow, Josh will be doing a live stream digging into that radio a little bit more in depth. And I'll be sure to we'll share that post address for you as well. So we've got, let's see who else is here. Oh, there's Todd, our buddies. And hi, Todd. And back to Josh. Oh, here's somebody who, Nick met us down in Hamcation. I remember. Very cool. All right. So without any further ado, let me bring my guest in here. Da-da-da. There he is.
How's it going? How are you? Thank you for the kind words. That was very nice.
Well, it's true. I wasn't totally making it up. It's funny. So many people in this hobby, it's like, it's not unusual to meet somebody who's like literally a rocket scientist or, RF engineers and people that do some of this stuff. I know don't you work with satellites or
something like that? That's pretty close. Yeah.
You work for somebody who can't talk about doing stuff you can't talk about type of things,
Yeah.
So, but to me, that's great when you can do that kind of work, but then you take your knowledge and bring it into your hobby. And then you go one step further. You're not just doing it for yourself. You put content out there. And I know you just had a video put out on your YouTube page recently about, calling out for more people and more content creators. I think it's really important that, the more that we can share the various things that we enjoy with ham radio, the more we might get some more interest from people who either A, aren't ham radio operators at all, or B, might have only been doing one thing for a long time. And like me, for example, with this, looking at the TX-500 this past week, I literally have never even thought about doing QRP. I mean, it's kind of a joke in our house. Like, you see a QRP radio and it's like, it burns us, but
get that out of here.
Yeah. But I'm like, this was so easy to like play with and check out. And I didn't even get to do all of the things that you've done with it so far and will be doing. But it was like, hey, I might actually be interested in, maybe taking this up my mountain and bringing up getting myself an antenna and giving it a whirl. And so that's where I think it's kind of important that, there are people like you and others out there, like, the Smoking Apes here I see, and Ham Radio 2.0 is on, and so many other creators to share what they do and the love that they have for the hobby, and then get other people inspired and engaged. And I think that's one of the things that I think that we here at Ham Radio Outlet really like about what you're doing and on your channel too, Josh.
Yeah, well, thank you. The video I made, what I was trying to do was encourage people to kind of post on their private social medias, right? Because everybody has a Facebook or an Instagram or a Twitter or whatever, and you have people that are following you, family members, friends, etc., people you work with that probably have a preconceived notion of what ham radio is. And if you're doing something that you enjoy with ham radio, take a couple pictures, take a minute-long video, share it out, and say, hey, look, this is what ham radio really is today. This is what it looks like. Because it's probably not the notion that they have in their head. And you'll probably will draw adjacent kind of interested people, off-roaders, people that are into going outdoors, perfectly adjacent hobbies that will fit right in with ham radio.
Right. Like I ran into the folks from the Jeep Talk Show, like all the Jeepers, they're out riding their Jeeps, four-wheeling, mudding, doing all kinds of fun things. But there's a whole bunch of them that are also ham radio operators. And so I went on their talk show one time to talk about ham radio and Jeeping. And that was so cool. It was like, I just never would have like put those two together, but it just so happens that two of our local ham friends have Jeeps. They have winches on the front of their Jeeps, and that's how we were able to put up our towers. And so I shared those photos with them, and they're like, hey, that's a great way to, get the word out that here's other things you can do with your Jeep, and ham radio is, team up with your friends and help them put their towers up. So
yeah, I was on that show twice. So yeah, it's perfect. It's a perfect that's a perfect alignment, because the way to look at it is I'm often doing ham radio for the sake of ham radio, like lots of things on ham radio, but there are adjacent hobbies that do ham radio as a part of their hobby. Jeepers like to be connected to other people that are doing off-road at the same time for a level of safety, for being able to communicate when they're about to try some technical pass on some kind of thing that they, I don't know what they call it, but you go to, you've seen the pictures of Moab, and they've got these cool rock formations that they go up and down, and they coordinate that. And a lot of times that's usually them getting out of their Jeep and yelling at each other. But oftentimes they can just use the radio and do that. And that's a real super advantage of VHF, UHF, local comms. But they can have even more fun with HF if they just tweak their setting a little bit more,
Yeah, absolutely. And when I see videos and pictures like that, I usually like, I'm definitely not going to be the one in there, because we took our friend's Jeep up the mountain one day and Dwayne was driving all over, and I'm like holding on and screaming. And I thought for sure we're going to tip over. I started crying, and I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
It's a lot of fun though. It's a lot of fun.
I think as I get older, I get a little less brave, maybe. We still laugh about it. Of course I can laugh about it now. Back then I was just like,
I don't want to die.
Yeah. I know we're gonna
wear your safety harnesses. There you go. You see, you've got people in the chat right now, both on the YouTube side and Facebook that are in the off-road community. Right. Because they go hand in hand. It's a great. You can have fun with both. Like you go out for a weekend camping and you got your Jeep, you're doing off-road, and then you got your radio, and you have fun at night and around the campsite, set up some HF radio, have some fun. I mean, there's SOTA possibilities with Jeeps too. There's a lot of drive ups that you can't do. You can't do in a car. So you just, boop, 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 hop up there with your Jeep or off-road vehicle, and boom, you're activating SOTA.
Right. Now, for anybody who just happen to maybe not know what SOTA stands for, that is Summits on the Air. And the other acronym we're going to be using today is POTA, which is Parks on the Air. And that's, I think, is that photo behind you? That's not like a generic one. That's a photo you took that you're using. Am I correct?
That's right. So last, what was it, November or October, I did a YouTubers meetup, and I had about 9 people. A lot of them flew in. We hiked to the top of this mountain, which is Pacifico Mountain in California, just kind of northwest of, or I guess north of LA, and right in the heart of the San Gabriel mountain range. And we did a overnight camp out and Summits on the Air activation. And so, everybody that wanted to activate, we got them activated. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of YouTubers. Jason, Ham Radio 2.0 came out, and Sterling and Kyle. and gosh, Kevin W6RIP. There was a lot of people that came out. It was super fun.
I believe you have a group photo. That's your like header photo on your Twitter page. Am I correct?
With all the people standing. Yeah, that was what that was from. Yeah.
Right. So that's pretty neat. I love me some POTA. So generally speaking, if you're going to go out and do like a summit on the air or a park on the air, you're obviously not hauling your 7610 and and a giant amp and a huge Astron power supply with you. You're going as lightweight as you possibly can. And and again, as a few years ago, Sean Kutzko, KX9X, had come out our way for convention. He was our guest speaker. And a big part of what he was doing while he was out here was chasing satellites. But we also had the occasion to drive over to Devil's Tower. And he set up, we walked around. We didn't climb the top. We just, walked the paths. But we found a little spot out and weren't even sure if we were supposed to do it. But he set up his radio. We threw a dipole up in the trees and he had his little keyer and a notepad and was just making a bunch of contacts. And I thought, for me, my initial thought was, A, this is super cool. But B, I'm like, I can never do this because I'm just not that good at CW. I always, rely on my husband or a decoder or what have you. But seeing something like this new radio, the TX-500, and I know there's obviously other ones out there, but that's the one we're focusing on today.
Right.
Being able to use, voice or even digital with some, updates since it's an SDR radio, I thought, hey, this kind of opens up some doors for people who maybe were like me thinking, well, if I can only just do Morse code while I'm out and about, I'm never going to be able to do any of this stuff. And I think this is kind of a new opportunity. And I really wanted to talk to you about that because you have the experience of doing more out and about type of operations. And
yeah, it's great. Well, SOTA's nice. SOTA gives you some flexibility where you can still easily activate the summit on single sideband. Generally, if you're up high enough and you've got a decent antenna, you won't have a problem activating with single sideband. I have had challenges in the past where I couldn't complete an activation with single sideband, and I ended up switching to VHF, UHF, and making a quick contact on simplex, right? So that happens. But a lot of the YouTube videos you see, I would say roughly half of them are people using single sideband to activate. Now, you will get more contacts if you use CW, straight up. It's just more efficient a mode. It's much better at using low power. I guess you could say it uses that lower power much more effectively to make contacts.
Right. Sure.
So, but great for learning CW, to encourage people to learn CW. SOTA's actual exchange is pretty straightforward with Morse code. So it's a nice way to learn CW. And in fact, you don't have to go up to the mountaintop to actually experience it. Do a chase, right? Use the SOTA Watch website. And if you just Google SOTA Watch, you will get a listing of people that are activating, and the ones that are doing CW, hop over to their frequency, see if you can hear them and listen for a little while. The exchange is very easy. So you should be able to practice your CW just from chasing SOTA operators.
And I know like a couple of really popular ones, of course, is the Goat Man down in Colorado. Steve WG0AT, right? Yeah. And then I know Stuart's been out quite a bit lately, KB1QHS. And he's been posting all over and doing all kinds of things. And he literally, wrote a book that the ARRL publishes on doing that. So it's definitely a really popular activity. And I think, and I don't know if it's because, so many more people are home from work these days or spending more time, obviously not out and about in stores or other more public places. So it's an ideal time to maybe grab your radio and hit up a local park or to go drive somewhere new and try some ham radio in a different and fun location, and seeing a lot more people trying it out. And I think maybe, when you have a little more extra time on your hands, especially when it's unplanned, you want to find ways to keep yourself busy and still happy,
Yeah. I mean, ham radio operators, we should be able to keep ourselves pretty busy with all the projects I know that we all have stacked up in our shack and our garages and whatnot. Parks on the Air is fantastic too, because, if you think about it, you can be at home, you can take a weekend to get your antenna system and your whole outfit sorted out. And then basically next weekend, or when you have time, right? Because we've got downtime from COVID-19. Go out to a park and give it a shot. POTA's a lot of fun. That one's an easy thing to get started with as well. And for those of you that battle home RFI, you've got interference in your shack. POTA's great. Getting outdoors is great because you get away from that noise, and generally parks are generally pretty quiet. So that's a lot of fun too, to hear it so quiet. You're like, I can hear everything, and you can work a lot of people.
Yeah, just don't expect that like at a campground where there's a whole bunch of campers parked.
With all their generators firing off.
Generators and everything. Yeah, I've heard that happen at a couple of field days, and even like at Hamvention or Hamcation, where you get a lot of folks that come in with their big RVs and setting up, and they're like, well, I was thinking it might be nice, but they're on top of everybody there. And we have, I mean, fortunately where I am, we are here in Northeast Wyoming, and it's pretty open, but we are in a little neighborhood, and thank goodness the power company is replacing all the power poles out here in the neighborhood this summer, because we have terrible, I mean, for us, it's terrible noise when we point the beam east. So it's just, it's like as if I were operating in Southern California, like with you guys having just that base level noise. But as soon as I point, west, it just, there's nothing there. It's so nice and clean. And if you don't have a chance to do that, I think, you make a great point. If you're always dealing with some level of noise at home, taking a radio out and away somewhere is really a good chance to have a whole new listen to what it sounds like.
I can actually show you really quick. This is the noise that I'm dealing with right now. That is an S10 often jumps to S20 noise floor on 40 meters. And that is related to the power transformer that's in my backyard. We have underground lines. So I called the power company this morning. They said they're sending someone out to look at it, which is awesome. Just, I hear, everybody hears that horror story, right? In ham radio that I'm surrounded by RFI and the power company will do nothing. That hasn't been my experience, because if you think about it, a power company having an RFI issue that's not being dealt with is like having a garden hose that you have on all the time with a hole in it.
Right, it doesn't do them any good to be.
Well, they're losing money. They're losing money. They're blasting out power, and it's a wasted, inefficient system, right? When they have a problem like that, so it behooves them to come out and fix it. So, I view it as a, hey guys, I'm just worried about, I've got a transformer on the ground. I don't want to be radiating my family with stray RF. Can you come out and take a look at it, please? And so they said they're going to come take a look. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I would think, having underground wires, you don't expect that. So when something like that crops up today, like you saw, something's definitely gone cattywampus with whatever's going on with your system there.
Indeed. Yes. Yeah.
So let's see. I'm going to make sure I haven't forgotten one of the initial things. Okay. So
yeah, we got to talk about the TX-500.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's why we're really here. I know. Well, we got to leave it. Oh gosh, Jay just says S10. He has his new antenna showing up at S7. He was S9 indoors. What do others see?
So generally, and I should be clear, I've got a lot of videos on fighting RFI, going around the home and hunting it down. And the first thing I often do is just kill the power to the entire house. Just put the radio on a battery, kill the power to the house, and see if the noise goes away. If the noise goes away, then it's in your home. If it's outside, well, and if it's that prolific where it's across multiple bands and the noise floor is that high, it's likely the power lines or the transformer on the ground or on a pole or wherever it is. And you kind of need to call for some help at that point.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. If you're having that kind of an issue, definitely give them a call. And as who upstairs just said, FCC requires them to fix the problem.
That's it.
So anywho, last week was fun. The last couple of weeks have been fun. Josh and I have been sharing this radio back and forth to play around with the TX-500.
Ping-ponging across the country. Yes.
Yeah. I had a chance, as I mentioned, last week I showed it to you. I gave you guys a quick preview here on Shack Chat, and then put together a little teaser video. And I really just was frosting on the cake as far as, just giving you a quick view. And then Josh on his Ham Radio Crash Course channel had more in-depth overview of the radio. But then tomorrow night, postal service willing, the radio will be delivered. And Josh will be diving deep, and there'll be, you don't already see the link to his live stream, that'll be on tomorrow at
5 p.m. Pacific time.
Okay, thank you. 5 p.m. Pacific time, where he's going to take the radio and dive even deeper into it. But for anybody who might have missed all of our flooding of social media this past week, all about this new radio, why don't you, I'm going to throw it over to you because I know you spent a lot more time digging into some of the neat details about it. And I was reading the manual again. Here's a funny thing, check this out. If you guys are wondering a lot of questions about, more detail-y things, Lab599 is their website, and I will plug that in for you.
Yep.
.com. Thank you. And they actually have a really good user manual. I mean, it's like, it's hard to honestly, it's hard to find a good user manual for a lot of products. But whoever wrote it actually took the time, sat down as if, and this very well maybe how they wrote it, but took the radio and started going through each little piece and then wrote the manual as they were doing it. So it makes a whole lot of sense as you're looking at everything it can do. But so this is a QRP radio, 1 to 10 watts.
That's right.
And SDR.
So it's SDR with a quadrature mixture. Mixer, sorry, not mixture, mixer. So not a completely full SDR, but it's using SDR technologies for some of the things like digital signal processing.
Right.
So basically, it's all HF bands. It is extremely narrow and thin because it's really just two halves of aluminum CNC'd out with two end caps on it.
Right.
So it's splash resistant or splash proof, but it's not completely submersible. And the connectors they use, I've been told many times that, oh no, these are standard connectors. Well, standard in the sense that it's a standard for mic cables, but all the other connections on the radio are also that same connector, which is good because it's sealed. It's a little bit more robust and it allows for keying the cable in such a way that you're never going to use the wrong cable on the different plugs for the radio. So people are looking forward to it from that point of view. People that might find themselves in a rainstorm, for instance, this should be fine just sitting in the rain without much issue.
Right. That is really nice because obviously if you were going out and about to play radio and you're in a park or climbing a mountain, then you're going to have dust, you're going to have junk floating around and of course, inevitably some rain somewhere. So that's really nice. And it's surprisingly, it's solid, but it's not heavy. I don't know if that makes sense, but I mean, this thing, it feels like, okay, this is a really heavy duty radio. And all of the pieces and parts are there. It doesn't feel like anything's going to fall off. It's really well built. As I say, it's like a Russian tank. This radio is from Russia.
Yeah.
So everybody knows. And we are the exclusive retailer of this product here in the US. If you're outside of the US, you can buy it directly from them, but here in the US, or of course anywhere else, you can just buy it directly from us. And again, I'll also have the link for that in the video description, but let me
it's just over a pound in weight, a pound and a couple of, I think pound and like 13 ounces or something like that. I weighed it on the video. So it's extremely lightweight. It has a lower end power draw on receive. I think it's like 300 milliamps, I think is the draw. All these things I'll be doing on the live stream. I did like a 15-minute long video on the radio and tried to cover the high points, but I got so many questions. I was like, oh man, I got to go and do a deep dive on the power. I got to do a deep dive on the filtering. I'm going to do a deep dive on just all the different things that I got so many questions on. CW operators were looking at this and they're like, oh, that would be great because, it's supposed to have the filtering that they want, right? The 400 kilohertz wide filter. So all that stuff we'll be looking at, but that's part of the thing that's interesting for, for the radio and what's going to be people are looking at. It's an interesting radio just from the cool design factor. What they did is very unique, and I applaud them for that effort because it's we see a lot of new and interesting radios, and when a company that you've never really heard of, a country that not really known in the market yet comes out and says like, oh, by the way, here's this thing and actually brings it to the market is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I'm going to just pull it up here on our website. We do have it available for sale. So let me just pull that up. And so if you just pop in and, put under your search TX-500, you're going to pull it right up. So you can see some great product photos. And again, between the video that I've got on Facebook and then Josh's videos here on YouTube, you can see quite a bit of information. So right now we're looking at mid-September for delivery. And again, that's, since we've been, talking about this a lot, we are definitely getting a lot more people interested in the radio. And I think there's a lot more people ordering it and are ready to get out and have some fun this fall on the air. And, I'm going to bring Ricardo's comment back up on here. He said it'd be great to use on a cruise, especially with a balcony. And, unfortunately, if a lot of cruises don't allow that. But yeah, I mean, it would be the perfect size. And I left my Bioenno in the other room, but, I hooked mine up with a little Bioenno battery. And between those two things, and then the microphone speaker that it comes with, or excuse me, speaker microphone, that thing is loud. You were showing that in the video, and it's really amazing. You don't expect that out of a microphone.
I did not. Yeah, no, it's extremely loud, and the plug on the output for headphones, I just connected it to a set of speakers, and the quality of the sound is really good. The other thing I'm going to attempt to do is actually pipe the sound into my computer and then push that out over the stream. So you should be able to hear it kind of with, because of course a speaker hand mic is going to have a certain quality of audio that's not the greatest, but at the same time, it is extremely loud if you're in the field. If you're in the field, you're on a mountaintop multiple times, you got to go to headphones because the wind is whipping over the top of you. You can't hear the station. Other radios I've used, it's just too quiet. So you got to go to headphones. In this case, you just crank the volume higher on it and it'll blast through. It's very, very loud.
And I know they're working on some, like putting together like a package, if you will, of, okay, so you're going to buy the TX-500. Here's a headset for you, or a special, they're working on a Morse code key that would go perfectly with it, and some other adapters and products. So I know that those are all coming along with it, but it does come with the speaker microphone and the cat cable for online software. Milton was just asking if it has a USB port. I don't remember seeing one.
It does, but you got to keep in mind that all of the connectors are those military or aviation coarse threaded connectors. So there is both a port for data, which is where you would do your firmware upgrades, and for passing data to the computer. And in fact, it uses the hold on one second, I've got it right here.
Oh, okay.
It uses the blue serial dongle USB connector that a lot of other radios use. The only difference is, instead of it terminating in a tip ring sleeve or tip ring sleeve connector, it goes to this screw-on keyed aviation connector that comes with the radio, at least the ones that Katie and I have been bouncing back and forth. And then my understanding is that you can buy the accessory kit, but it will always come with this cable. And that's what you would use to connect the radio. Now, it has a separate, so that's the middle left port, is the data port. You may be able to see it there, middle left side. And then on the right side, that's where the audio in and out is. And the audio in and out is different from the speaker mic, which is nice because you could technically run digital and still have a mic connected, or you can have just entirely disconnected mic cable and work digital as well. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to test a lot of that stuff, because I don't have the accessory cable set. So I'm going to try and do what I can. A lot of what I'm going to do is just going to be working on the receive side of it, going through the filtering, see if I can pull the data in and see if I can do cat control easily enough. But I may not be able to do digital modes with it right now, because I don't have the cabling system figured out.
Right. Well, it's okay. And, that's always helpful too, because I certainly like watching if somebody's testing something out, for example, not everybody's going to have every single thing that you need in your shack anyway. So, as you're going through, you can say, oh, well, I guess I need, such and such, so that I can continue on with this at another time or what have you. So to me, that's normal stuff that we all experience in the shack. So if it goes perfect, we kind of wonder,
Yeah. Well, that's why a good reminder, going back to talking about portable operations, you generally want to try things out a lot in your shack. A lot of people will keep a checklist in their bag that they take out with them. And, you just go over it, make sure you have everything you need before you start your day, because there's nothing worse than getting to a mountaintop and realizing you don't have the coax adapter. Or you forgot your headset, or you forgot your mic. And it happens. It'll happen to everybody at least once. And then you'll vow never to have that problem again.
Yeah, I've run into that with, when I first started doing more videos and things here, at conventions. And now I've got myself a really nice long checklist, and which I double check and what have you, to make sure I don't forget anything. Because there's nothing worse than, getting out to where you're going to go, and you're missing a vital component. And certainly if you're on the top of a mountain somewhere, it's not like you're going to run back down to get something like your, especially if you're a K6, that's funny.
Yeah. And if you imagine you've got, you do YouTube videos, then you just add an extra level of effort on top of that because I forgot my SD card. I guess I'm using my phone today.
Right, exactly. Oh, here's my friend Gert over there. I know he says a bit larger than the box of Royal Dutch Wilhelmina peppermints, which he brings me those every year too. I usually get a couple boxes. Him and my friends over there bring me some boxes at Hamvention. Of course, we didn't have Hamvention this year, so I have to wait another year.
Bigger than 2. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, it's a couple of them, but
if you put 2 of them and then maybe a bit taller, but it's about as thick, I would say.
It actually is about as thick, but maybe 3 across or so. But we miss seeing you this year, Gert. So what I was wondering about also is, and I don't know how this helps you when you're in the field, but one of the things I thought looked kind of cool is the real-time pan adapter. So you have a better idea what's going on. Do you think that's going to be something really useful when you're out in the field?
Yes. Yeah. So, remember when you do SOTA, Summits on the Air or Parks on the Air, you're generally trying to find a frequency to camp on, to sit and then start calling CQ, or a lot of people, if they have access to the internet, they'll post a spot and that will tell people, oh, hey, I'm on this frequency. It always helps if you can have more information about what's going on the bands at any one moment. So having that spectrum display is really nice because for me too, when you're using a QRP radio at home or you're just having fun with it, you're more likely going to be doing what you do in like a contest if you're running low power, which is kind of hunting and pouncing. So that's the same thing. Is you want to. It's great to scroll up and down with the VFO, but it's not really effective, or you're missing the times where people are transmitting or whatever. With the spectrum display, you just can see where the activity is. Oh, hey, that guy's got like an S7, S9 signal to me.
Yeah. I'll
try and work them, because that gives you a really nice instant kind of understanding of how effective it may be for you to make a contact.
Well, that makes sense. And I mean, I certainly use that on my radio here in the shack when I'm contesting and, like you said, doing the search and pounce section. But, I found, and I think people actually probably use that, because I'm always amazed if I'm running a pileup for whatever reason. Sometimes I just get on the air and call CQ, and it turns into a pileup because it's Wyoming, of course. Yeah. But I'm always amazed that suddenly somebody breaks through and they're running QRP at, like 5 watts, and they beat out the guys that are all running, a kilowatt. And it's all about timing, I would say. So I'm thinking, that's why I was wondering if that will really help when you're out in the field. And I think, after you saying that, it kind of re-registered with me when I've been able to get a bunch of QRP stations in my pileups. And I think that really does sound like it's going to help make a difference to get in there.
It definitely helps if you're on a tall mountain. I won't take anything away from that. I mean, and generally, and this radio kind of, it almost requires it, is having a really nice antenna, an antenna that you've tested it, and you take it out there, and it doesn't have to be expensive. That speaker wire dipole that people talk about that they hand make. I've seen people make less than a watt contact across the country, Summits on the Air, and we're talking like 1,200 feet above sea level, not even a big mountain, a small little one. So it's totally possible. And that was at the bottom of the sun cycle too. But if you add some more elevation to it, it seems to help you out better. You seem to get a little bit lower takeoff angle, and you have a little bit better access to people.
I'm not sure that either of us can answer this question, but I'll throw it up here anyway. Milton's wondering about modifying for Mars frequencies, and I don't know about that one. Did you hear anything about that as of yet?
Yeah, so I believe, and I don't know what the final is going to be. There was a menu setting that I believe opened it up completely.
Okay. So we'll just stay tuned on that one. Maybe you'll find out by tomorrow night.
Yeah, I might check it out. But yeah, from what I saw, unless I'll check that tomorrow, because I'll hook it up to a dummy load and we'll test it. Right. But yeah, it looked like you could technically go open with it.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, it certainly seems like this is going to be a lot of fun for a lot of people, and I, from kind of searching around on social media, and after, you and I have posted some stuff about it this week, and then seeing a lot more people talking about it on YouTube or on Twitter, particularly, and over on Reddit, that, this has been something people have been waiting for a while and have known about for a while, and are really excited to say, yeah, it's really happening and it's really going to be showing up. And I think the QRP community is really excited to have a new radio that's really designed for, for this portable operation, low power and what have you. And I think, again, as I said earlier, for someone like me who's really never done that or even thought about doing it, after getting my hands on this and watching your video with what you can do and just playing around with it a little bit here at home, I'm rethinking this idea. And again, maybe maybe Dwayne's not listening now, but I think it could be actually a lot of fun. We have got our new tent that we got for field day, and could, get ourselves, we got to get an antenna and, go out and do a little playing on the radio. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
I'm sure being in Wyoming, there's some parks on the air that you can go to, or parks that are good for parks on the air. And people already want to work Wyoming anyway. Right. So you're just adding the two together, right? And that would be a lot of fun.
I think so too. And even just, obviously first try it out just on top of Warren Peak where we live. Mm-hmm. Where we are right now, we're at an elevation just about a mile high. And when we go to the top, to the spot that we can look down on Devil's Tower, it's at about like 6,500 feet elevation. There's just obviously nothing in the way.
Yeah.
But it's great views up there.
That's got to be a SOTA summit, right? Is it?
I don't think so, because it's so, I don't know. Is there a qualification for summits or for SOTA in terms of difficulty? Because you could drive up there and there's a bunch of cows that you have to drive around.
Doesn't matter. It has to have it has to have the button that qualifies it as a summit by the Park Service. If it has that marker somewhere on the summit, then it's technically in SOTA.
Oh, okay. I'll have to look and see, because it's all national park up there. And it's the site. It was the Air Force, and part of the area is still owned by the government. It was a nuclear radar facility back in the early 60s. And actually where we live is the military housing that was built to support that facility. So it's kind of it's a neat historic area. And it was Warren Peak Air Force Base back in the day. And it was only around for like 3 years or something. They built it as like a test model and then picked it up and took it away. It's like only in the 60s did they build stuff like that and then pick it up and take it somewhere else.
I'm trying to find it.
Trying to find me?
Yeah, I was trying to find it. Am I in the right place?
I don't know.
Is this
you can do a share screen. Oh, did you find me? Oh.
No. It's a different Warren Peak. So that's the thing, is there's a lot of there's a lot of reuse of names. There is a Warren Peak in California, but that's definitely not it.
Oh, there's Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Hi, Mike. Oh, look at that. Gert just pulled it up. So W7YEW09 Devil's Tower.
Yeah, that's Devil's Tower though.
Right. That's a difference. That's where I was with Sean probably at that spot, but. And
it's 1 point because it's only 1558.
Yeah. So, but that was kind of my point, is that, here's another opportunity. Here's a new radio out, which sometimes gets people thinking about something different to do with ham radio. And I think that's what's going to be fun. This looks like, at least from what I've seen and held and touched and played with a little bit, this is a solid radio that is going to do really well for people. And I think there's going to be a lot of people enjoying this as soon as it arrives in their shack.
It's a cool radio in that it's kind of branching into an area that we haven't had a lot of radios kind of live in, that space of being kind of splash resistant, a true kind of outdoor radio. Of course you can take radios outdoors, but you kind of always have to be careful that they're not going to get wet, or get dirty or whatever. This is pretty resistant to all of that from my experience so far. So it's going to be attractive to people that live in different climates where they may face rain a lot, and they've just been too worried about taking their favorite radio out and have it potentially get damaged.
Right, exactly. And that makes sense. So again, today is Friday, July 24th. And for anybody who might just actually be logging in now, as we've been going for a little while and getting ready to wrap up, thanks so much for joining us here on the HRO Shack Chat. And my guest this week is Josh Nass, KI6NAZ of Ham Radio Crash Course. And Josh has also had the opportunity to dive into the radio a little bit, the TX-500, and we'll be doing some more on it on his live stream on Ham Radio Crash Course on Saturday, 5 p.m. Pacific time. And I'm going to share the link here for you guys. It should be in the description. I'll also post it in the comments. So if you're following along on the live comments, it'll be easy for you to find. And of course, if you aren't already subscribed to his channel, please go do that. And of course, if you're not subscribed to ours, hit that button and give us a subscribe also.
Yeah, give a thumbs up to everybody watching on the YouTube side. It helps out the video. We're in right now doing this. It tells YouTube that, hey, this is good content and it should get in front of other people.
Right. And we appreciate that because we're trying to put out more stuff. And I'm working on a video today. I've been doing some editing, so I'll have something new out for you guys next week. I'm kind of excited about. And so this has been a lot of fun, Josh. And I know both Josh and I, if you guys have seen on social media, both have not been feeling the greatest and had the opportunity to have a COVID test.
Yeah, the great joy of that test. Yeah.
Yeah, not a lot of fun, but fortunately we were negative, but we're still kind of dealing with some of the bronchial things. And I'm about to lose my voice. I'm not sure about you, but
I didn't get it nearly as bad as you did, but I just had the trifecta of fever, cough, and sore throat. I said, well, I can't go back to the office without testing this, so I did, and it kind of wore off starting on Monday.
Thank goodness for that. Yeah. And mine has just been a cough that, for the most part, since I'm home alone, and just around my family and haven't been anywhere, I really wasn't concerned. But you call the doctor's office, let me try that again. Call the doctor's office these days. And if you have a cough, they're going to be sticking the Q-tip up your nose just to be sure, which is fine. I mean, it's a good thing to be careful of, but it's a good reminder also that, it is really important to be careful when you're out and about, and, everyone's still dealing with this. And of course, all of our stores are still closed to walk-in traffic, but we're fully staffed. We're taking your phone orders, your internet orders, doing obviously shipping, and also curbside delivery, which I think Josh knows all about.
I do. Yes.
Everybody at Anaheim knows when Josh is coming to visit, and he's getting lots of so we will obviously, as things change in the world, our senior leadership is keeping an eye on what's going on locally, regionally, and of course federally. And we'll make decision in the future when we're ready to open. But in the meantime, our stores are being prepared for that day. And, getting the teams up to snuff and, putting up the plexiglass and all that good stuff. So, hopefully, we know everybody's dying to get back in the store, and we're dying to have you guys back. But we want to make sure when we do it, everybody's ready and we can keep everyone as safe and healthy as possible. Because that's obviously, without our health, and what's the point? So we got to stay healthy so that we can keep playing radio and having fun.
That's right. Just look at this as a chance to do all those projects you've been meaning to do that have been sitting, in your shack. I'm looking at like 5 things that I need to get to work on anyway. So just treat it like that.
Exactly. Oh, Marty misses his Billy Bob. Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. I haven't talked to Bob. Well, anybody at the Anaheim store other than on the phone. Even when I do hop out there, it's just to take a bag and get out, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and that reminds me also that if I ran into a conversation with somebody who had driven to the store and they hadn't checked our website first to see that we were indeed closed, please know that if you happen to be watching this, or somebody who just decided to take off for a quick drive and stop in at the store, and because other stores in their local area are open and they're just guessing or assuming that ours are, that if you run into that and you show up and, of course you can't walk in, feel free to call. Just call from the parking lot. Our team will help you out, rock up your order for you, and just bring it out to you in the, to your car. And there you go. You're all set. So our folks are doing what they can to make sure we can help get things to you as easily as possible.
I have definitely done that. I've ordered something online. It was ready for me. I went to go pick it up, and I was like, "Well, could you just throw this into it? I need that too. I forgot about that. Just add it. Just go ahead, add it on." And they were great about it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, it's nice to see everybody who's missing us. Thanks so much, everybody. We appreciate that. Well, Josh, thank you so much again for joining me here on the HRO Shack Chat. It's always fun to have you here, and appreciate all that you're doing to help promote ham radio, and of course ham radio outlet with the products when you review them for us. And again, tomorrow night you guys can, or tomorrow evening, depending on where you are in the country, you can catch Josh live, and you stream live every Saturday at 5 p.m. Pacific time.
That's right. Yeah. And if there's anybody that is interested in a specific question on the TX-500 that I didn't answer, post a comment on the video that's already up or on the live stream that's upcoming, and I'll take all those comments and try to work them out live on the show.
Right, that'd be perfect. And again, the link is in the descriptions here, and I've posted them into the comments as well as where you can buy one of these great radios at HRO. And I think for that, I think we're about done, Josh.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great. Katie, thanks again for having me on. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you. And thank you all for watching with us, and have a great weekend. On behalf of Ham Radio Outlet, I'm Katie WY7YL here with Josh Nass, KI6NAZ of Ham Radio Crash Course 73, everybody, and stay radioactive.